Hi there, Rebecca Mills here with Utah State University Extension to share some wellness wisdom to help you meet your health goals. Today's topic is extremely important to your overall health, a wonderful little activity called sleep. Maybe you're watching this in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, or maybe it's the middle of the afternoon and you're trying to stay awake at your desk. Either way, come with me to Dreamland. There's some really great things you need to know. First, we'll talk about what happens when we are sleeping. Then we'll discuss the relationship between sleep, weight loss, and your overall health. And lastly, I'll give you some tips to improve your sleep. It can be said that the time we spend sleeping is actually our body's most productive time of the day. You might be wrinkling your eyebrows at me for that statement, but hear me out. We spend as much as a third of our life sleeping, and you might have thought at times in your life that you couldn't afford to take time to sleep. I know I thought that one time when I stayed up all night to cram for an Econ 110 final. Still wasn't such a bright thing to do. Anyway, if you've thought about skimping on sleep so you could get more done in the day, consider these things that your body's actually getting done for you while you're sleeping. When we're sleeping, our muscles finally get a chance to relax, and if you've ever been really tense for an extended period of time, you know what a blessing it is to feel the relief of relaxed muscles. As our muscles are relaxing, the blood flow to our muscles increases and helps repair tissues. During sleep, our energy levels are restored, and our brain is super active, doling out hormones to different parts of the body. Growth hormone to help our bodies be healthy and strong, cortisol to help us be awake and alert when we're done sleeping, and others that help regulate our feelings of hunger and fullness. Getting convinced yet that you need more sleep? Oh wait, it gets better. You might be thinking, how much sleep do I need to get these benefits you're talking about? Truth is, it's different for everyone. And if you're not getting enough sleep, you'll start to recognize some of the short-term effects that we'll talk about in a minute. A good way to tell if you're getting enough sleep is to pay attention to your body, and if you feel energetic and alert all day long. Quality of sleep makes a difference too, not just how much time you're physically in bed. There are 4 different stages that our body goes through during sleep, ranging from the transition to sleep, light sleep, deep sleep, and a stage called REM, or REM sleep, which is the sleep we're in when we dream. Deep sleep is when our body and energy levels are getting restored, and dream sleep, or REM sleep, is when our mind is getting restored, which plays a key role in learning and memory. If you're not spending enough time in the deep sleep part of the cycle, your body will try and make up that at the expense of REM sleep, no doubt resulting in that foggy-headed feeling we get when we're sleepy. This chart shows the average sleep needs for different ages. I'm amazed at how much sleep on average that teenagers need and probably aren't getting. Something interesting about teens and sleep. Once they hit puberty, they need more sleep, and their internal clocks make a shift, making it harder to fall asleep and get up. And the crazy thing is that their bodies don't even start producing that sleep hormone until around 1 a.m., compared to 10 p.m. in adults. Parents of teens are nodding their heads in agreement right now. Some research on teen sleep patterns has shown that their sleep is no less important to their daily body functions, and even just taking away 1 hour of sleep led to poorer test scores, reaction time, recall, and responsiveness. I've even heard of some school districts experimenting with later start times at middle schools and high schools to try and keep teens from amping up on caffeine in the morning or driving to school drowsy so that they can get more sleep and do better in class. Kind of an interesting idea, really. Alright, let's talk about some of those short-term effects of not getting enough sleep. You might be pretty familiar with most of these things and may have even experienced some or all of them in your life. Things like being more likely to catch a cold or not looking your best and feeling less focused are kind of obvious ones. But what about losing brain tissue and eating too much? Did you know that when you don't get enough sleep, it can actually be causing you to gain weight? That's amazing to me, but the reason it happens goes back to what we talked about earlier with our brain handing out hormones during our sleep, the same hormones that help us feel full. So when we're sleep deprived, we have a tendency to want to eat junk food, bigger portions, and overall just feel hungrier. Cravings really are tricky critters. To think you can curb your cravings by sleeping more, that's a pretty attractive solution to me. And what about the long term? Basically, if we never slept, we would die. The restorative power of sleep is essential to body function. But how many of us never sleep? Yeah, not very many. So most of us aren't getting enough sleep on a regular basis, though, which can lead to some really serious health problems. Several things are linked to long-term sleep deprivation. Colorectal and aggressive breast cancers, increased risk for obesity, stroke, diabetes, heart disease. Those are like the big five when it comes to killers. Okay, have I convinced you yet? Your life literally depends on it. Some of you might be thinking, okay, I get it, I need sleep, but I have a really hard time falling asleep, staying asleep, or have this medical condition that affects my sleep, or have this other condition called kids that really mess with my sleep cycles. What am I possibly going to do to fix that? I get it, I really do, and you have to be able to do what works for you. My goal here is to get you thinking. Are there things you're doing that aren't helping you get the sleep you need? Obviously, there are some things we can't control in life. Maybe you work a swing shift or have little ones that require attention at all times of the day and night. Something to consider is if you aren't taking care of you, who will take care of those other things? Making your sleep a priority is something to consider. So here are a few tips to improve your sleep. If you have a hard time falling asleep, you can practice things like listening to soothing music, or focusing on your breathing, or imagining a relaxing place in your mind. Wait, don't go to sleep yet, I'm not done. These types of activities induce that slower heart rate, relaxing state that's necessary to fall asleep. Our bodies are naturally inclined to cool down before we go to sleep, and something that might help you is to take a warm bath to begin that relaxation, then afterwards you feel that quick cool down. That signals to your body it's time to rest. This is why sleeping in a cool room might also be helpful. Some things to avoid right before bed are alcohol, caffeine, or nicotine, as they ramp up your body's systems. Exactly the opposite of what you want to have happen. Having these things a few hours before bed isn't as harmful to your sleep, though. Also, there are lots of studies now about the amount of screen time we have in our lives these days, and its effect on our sleep. The recommendations are clear that we should be avoiding those bright computer, e-reader, phone, TV, lights before bed. Digital lighting has a way of waking our brains up, not putting them to sleep. Again, not what we're looking for. And lastly, if you're awake, consider getting out of bed and sitting up for a bit. Maybe reading a book or something until your body starts to feel groggy again, and then try going back to bed. It might take 15 or 20 minutes, but that's not a lot when you compare it to an hour or more of tossing and turning. Just listen to your body. And remember those sleep cycles we talked about earlier? If you want more REM sleep, which is where you boost your mind and your mood, you might consider adding an extra 30 to 60 minutes of sleep in the morning, which is when REM stages of our sleep cycle are longer. One article I read suggested that since our sleep cycles last about 90 minutes, you could consider setting your alarm to wake you up at a time that's most natural for your body. This might explain why sometimes we wake up at a certain time and feel super awake. Well, your body just finished a sleep cycle and naturally thinks it's time to wake up. This is where the snooze button is not your friend. Chances are getting 5, 10, or 20 minutes more rest isn't really going to help you that much. But aiming for a total of 7.5 or 9 hours might work for you. Just be careful not to put yourself in sleep debt and think you can make it up by taking naps, sleeping in on the weekends, or some other time. You can make some of it up, but just like being in debt with money, the interest never sleeps. Pun intended. And before you know it, you'll have a cold and your pants will be fitting a little tighter. In summary, on our sleepy little journey to dreamland, we've talked about how skimping on sleep might sound like a good idea at first, but you're basically only robbing your body of its ability to restore, rebuild, and help you out during the day. We also talked about how our body has different sleep cycles, and by giving ourselves enough time in each cycle, we are more likely to wake up refreshed and ready to go. Then there are the sad information about how sleep debt in the short term is going to make you sick and fat, and long-term sleep debt can kill you. Lastly, when we make sleep a priority and are more mindful of what might be keeping us awake at night, we might just be able to do more of what will be sure to send us off into dreamland. Thanks for listening to this edition of Wellness Wisdom with me, Rebecca Mills. As always, check out the Utah State University Extension site for lots of great resources to help you live well. I hope this info has been helpful, and I wish you the best of luck on meeting your health goals. Now go out and make it a healthy day.